You know, I always knew this place was small, but I never realized it was quite this tiny. 4 of us cramped in here. Never a chance to be alone.
I took a trip a few years ago. Took Mrs. Columbo back to the house where I grew up. It looked all shrunken. I had 5 brothers and 1 sister, Miss Freestone, and that was really terrific. There was always someone around for company. We were never lonely.
You're a very special man, Lieutenant. You accept things as they are. I try to change them.
That's to your credit, man. Your success and ambition and all. Now I'm supposed to ask you questions about all that.
You're supposed to?
Well, nobody told me to, but that's the way I'm supposed to do my job. It's certainly not personal.
Whenever anyone says it's not personal, that's exactly when it's very personal.
Hello, welcome back, Columbo fans. This is Sean.
And this is Steve.
And this is Steve.
Maybe,
sure.
yeah, I'm not real sure.
Well, welcome back to another quote-unquote live episode of the Columbo Cod Fan Podcast. Just yesterday, we recorded for Columbo Cries Wolf.
Yes.
And now we have just watched, and we'll talk about Make Me a Perfect Murder.
Right. A lot less legs in the intro in this one. As a matter of fact, I liked that the episode starts with Columbo.
Mm-hmm.
Typically, they don't.
Mm-hmm. We talked about this when we watched Murder: A Self-Portrait, the one with where he's at the Basset Hound Festival.
Yes.
And you said, is he normally in the opening of of every 90s episode? And that obviously isn't the case. But I do wonder what the thought process is behind putting him in the beginning. And I think they do that when they know that the intro up to the murder is going to be really long. They'll stick a bit with Columbo in there in the beginning, but I'm not sure.
Wowza. Well, I was surprised to see that, and I definitely noted it in my show notes. So, I always knew Columbo was not a very safe driver. But they definitely established that he doesn't know what he's doing. The car always looks like it's always banged up and beat up. I'm sure because of his poor driving, not that anybody else.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And in this episode, in the beginning, when he gets in that little fender bender, his car is pretty wrecked in the back. More so than most cars. And as a former personal injury attorney,
you got to deal with that?
Yeah.
Oh.
A lot of whiplash. A lot of people with hurt necks and chiropractors and all that.
So we're introduced almost immediately after the scene with Columbo to Kay Freestone and Mark, I forgot his last name. McAndrews. So they run the local TV station on the West Coast. And
it's CNC or GNC? I don't.
CNC. GNC is where you buy pills for supplements and stuff like that. Definitely not that. So this is Kay is his executive assistant.
Okay, yeah, I know.
So I've never been kind of. Does that mean she's like a secretary? Like I never quite understood that.
Well, that's a really good point, and I really want to talk about this because this is a theme throughout the entire.
It's a women's lib episode.
Oh gosh, yes. Okay, and I don't say that in a condescending way. She is an extremely competent woman who is in a man's world, in a man's business. It's all men. Okay. The boss, played by Mr. Flanagan, played by Patrick O'Neill, former Columbo murderer in the first season, noticed that all the men call him by his first name. She calls him Mr. Flanagan.
Yeah.
And you get the impression, well, it's not even an impression because it's not implied, that, as she says, she works like an ox. Yet she has the title of executive assistant, which is just a glorified term for a secretary. Okay. However, she gets, in the beginning, her secret boyfriend, Mark McAndrews, played by David Letterman. I'm sorry, Lawrence Luckenbill.
He does look like David Letterman.
Yeah, he does look like
he's got the
David.
haircut, he's got the glasses, he's got the space between his teeth.
Yeah. He tells her, you don't make decisions, you make guesses, which is extremely hurtful to her. I think that when it comes down to it, that was such an insult that may have been the reason that she killed him. I mean, he was so down on her.
Yeah.
And I've never, obviously, I've seen this episode a million times. I've never sat down and really watched it critically and thought of it like that, because obviously, I have a penis and I don't imagine things from a woman's, point of view, because I guess I'm a misogynist. That's kind of a joke. Yeah. But he had it coming. And the thing is that he's not a, what was the guy that was poisoned in Caution, Murder Can Be Hazardous to Your Health? Or even, he's not the kind of guy that I would totally fucking kill him. No, he's really suave.
I can't remember.
He's suave. He's likable. Yet he does this really shitty thing to her that I would kill him too.
Well, Sean knows this, but I don't think the audience does. I worked in the film industry for 15 years, and so I worked for a big movie studio. They had branch offices everywhere, so I wasn't based in California. But it's funny, when I watched this episode, it definitely brought back memories of the early 90s in the film industry, when there was a big transition from the old boys club to putting women into direct management positions, where you might recognize like Nikki Rocco or Stacey Snider. And so women were starting to dominate in the film industry, and I was in there when that transition was happening. And so it's funny for me to see what it was like before, and how women like Stacey Snider, Nikki Rocco had to fight through probably very similar scenarios like this. But anyways, I found it interesting. So that when watching this, you do feel sorry for Kay. Oh yeah, because she is fighting the uptrend, and I can only imagine women like that. Yeah,
and it is done with such brilliant subtext. And one thing, I know I'm maybe getting a little bit ahead of myself, but I think that this is brilliantly written. If you watch it closely, you'll notice that when Columbo talks to her, he doesn't talk to her the way that her colleagues talk to her. He talks to her on her level. He recognizes immediately that she's an extremely smart woman.
Oh yeah.
And that she's not to be trifled with. She doesn't put up with bullshit. Because there's a scene after Columbo's introduced where she just says to him, "Okay, Columbo, I get your point. Now come on with your questions. I understand. It's your job.
It's your job to ask me
And
questions."
he knows from that point on, okay, I know what this lady's all about. She gets right to the point. She's a professional person. She recognizes that I'm a professional as well, and I can talk to her on her level. Which is one thing that Columbo's really good about. I mean, a couple episodes ago when we talked about the Greenhouse Jungle and the way that Columbo talked to Tony Goodland's secretary/mistress. I mean, he went down to her level. She was a very smart person. She's an idiot.
Well, he's able to transcend the barriers of class.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, so he can talk to somebody who's a working class, and he can talk to somebody in the white collar class. Mm-hmm. Or blue collar, white collar. So there's a scene early on where the old boys club, they're all having breakfast. It's a breakfast buffet, and I like that the scene. I mean, literally, you get the impression it takes place immediately. You see the worker bees, the people who are running the numbers and stuff. They're all working hard, but while the upper executives are in another room have a breakfast buffet.
I don't know. It was breakfast. I think it was. Because it was deli meats and cheeses. Yeah.
And then a dry bar. Yeah. No, I thought they were eating breakfast and drinking scotch, which is the breakfast of champions.
Yeah. Could you imagine drinking scotch before 12? I'd never.
No, I would never do that.
Anyway, go ahead. I'm sorry. What was your point with the boys' club?
Well, no, I mean that was before my time in the industry, so it's just fascinating. I'm sure it was exactly like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I wish I was an executive during the 70s. You could smoke in elevators. In this episode, you can smoke in elevators. You could drink during
lunch.
Brunch.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll settle on brunch.
I imagine Mad Men. I've only seen one episode of Mad Men, but
what a spectacular time to be alive.
Oh, yeah, but they're all dead now. And they don't
they all have cancer and they're dead.
No, it's interesting, but it's also, I think it's still true today in 2017. I see it in the law profession, that women are looked down upon for one simple reason.
Even today?
Yeah, I think so. That people don't like hiring women because they have babies and they're going to be out, or they will quit their job, or whatever.
Do you think that's, kind of going off topic, but do you think that's more the location we're in now, or do you think it's better for the West Coast? Do you think the West Coast is more progressive for women?
I don't know. I have no idea. Inside baseball, we're in Texas. I know growing up, my mom was a legal secretary, and it was definitely boys' club. But that was in the 80s.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
there's the whole white and blue collar thing going back and forth. Columbo's kind of delving in both worlds, and we're introduced to definitely a blue collar guy. His name is Walter Muirhead,
mm-hmm.
and he's the projectionist for Kay. Well, not for Kay, but apparently they have a close relationship. And he's kind of showing Columbo the ropes throughout the episode, how changing film works, which I thought was really interesting. I didn't know about the... we learned, which is a clue. You love clues.
I love clues.
Yeah. So there's a circle that flashes twice in the top right-hand corner to let the projectionist know when to change film out. We also learned that Walter, he's been there for a while, and he's learning, or I should say, Columbo's learning things about it. I find it fascinating that Columbo seems to run into projectionists quite a bit. we can look at Double Exposure with Robert Culp. Thank you, and Robert Culp. And there's another scene where Columbo interacts with a projectionist / personal butler is in Forgotten Lady.
Yeah. And
these, I think, are these before this episode? I didn't.
Yeah, because this episode is the second to last of the 70s.
So
it was this one, and then the Conspirators, which we did, and that was it.
So I've noticed in these episodes that there's a soft reset on Columbo's interests or his previous episodes. It's the same character that continues, but things get reset, like trying to relearn how to run a projection and things like those things are never brought forward from those other two episodes.
Well, it's just like his fear of heights. One episode he's afraid of heights, the next episode he's not.
Yeah.
We watched something last night. We watched Try and Catch Me, where he plays This Old Man tune on a piano, and then it was 25 years later or whatever, he has someone teach him that on Murder with Too Many Notes. Whatever. I'm not judging the program. Somebody wrote us about... what's it called? Consistency. And I find, something like that, maybe he forgot in 20 years. I don't know. That way lies madness. If you try to figure out when Columbo learned how to play This Old Man on the piano, and maybe did he forget it or not, no, you can't.
There's no Eric Sayward on.
That's a Dr. Who reference, folks, for those of you.
So, I didn't quite understand. I mean, I understand it, but I didn't know why it was such a big thing to concentrate on for this episode. Kay records herself counting down. So if she can time herself when the tape runs out and she can go down and kill Mark.
And then get back in time before Walter comes back from shipping with the tapes of the Broadland.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
I felt like they concentrated a lot on that aspect, and I thought it was a bigger clue than it really was.
You mean you have 4 minutes?
Yeah. Like
you have 3 minutes.
They spent quite a bit. There's a lot of fluff in this episode. We're going to get to that.
Okay, Steve, wait. Hold on. I got to stop you right there because I'm going to tell you something. The murder that is the way that the filmmakers portrayed this murder. This is my favorite murder.
Really?
On Columbo to watch. Because the timing is perfect, the music is perfect. She's perfect. It's you have 4 minutes. I mean, it's suspenseful. She walks in on him, and he goes, "Are you finished?" And she goes, "Yes, finished." Of course, it's a double meeting right before she shoots him, and I think it's probably the most coolest, the coolest murder ever made, ever done on Columbo. I really love the way that they did that. The earphone thing or the whatever it
iPod?
Is an iPod. Yeah, it's an iPod. I mean, that doesn't come up later on. It's just there for effect, I think. And the first time that they show it, she's sitting there on her spiral staircase in her apartment or house or whatever, looking like shit because she's just been dumped and she's not going to get the job. You're like, what is that? Is she going to do a bomb? That's what I thought. It was a bomb. Like it was a time. The first time I saw it, yeah. And then when we see her later on, we realize what it's for. It's so superbly done, and it's so cool, and it's exactly the type of classy, efficient way that I would expect Kay Freestone to commit a murder.
I find these. It's not the fault of the program.
Oh God!
But it's just the kind of the analytical eye. I have a problem with the timing of everything. I mean, she literally was able. Okay, God, I know everybody's seen this, so I shouldn't have to say spoilers. But the scene...
the statute of limitations on spoilers for Columbo has run out a long time ago.
Okay,
yeah.
So she's killed Mark, and she's got the countdown thing in her ear, and she's got to get back to the projection room to make the transition of tape or film.
The changeover, they call it, yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't call it correctly.
It's okay.
Okay, yeah, sure. But everything is timed absolutely perfectly. I mean, she's got to maneuver around the guy with the porn mustache, the cleaning crew, and the security guard who's looking at the latest episode of Bachelor's World. So she makes it literally within less than 10 seconds back to where she needs to be. That is so...
You thought she left too much up to chance?
Yes, because Walter, the projectionist, literally came in 2 seconds after she did.
Okay, you're right. How did she know that Mark would be alone in his office and Doug Henning would be doing accounting in his office alone?
Well, she set him up.
And well, yeah, but she told him to work late. But how does she know? Because when we work late at our office, we goof around a lot. I mean, Doug Henning would be talking to Dave
Well, he got a phone call that would relate him because of the phone call. Not unless she planned that, which we didn't.
Now the cleaning crew is a problem because we saw the cleaning cart out, and the cleaning lady was probably hanging around somewhere.
So I had problems with the timing, but it's not a big deal. It's to progress the story. That's
I understand. You have a point, but it still doesn't. I'm sorry, it was so perfect the way they did it with the music and all that. It is so cool and suspenseful. So
it seems Kay has gotten away with a perfect murder, which is the name of the title. The very next scene we see Columbo now. He's now been assigned to the case, even though he's got a neck injury with the whole neck brace thing going on. And I know this is odd, and I don't know if anybody else would have put this or thought of this besides myself. I was thinking of the guy who did the Hey Vern.
Oh yeah.
What's his name?
Ernest.
Yeah,
Jim Varney.
Thank you. And he would wear a neck brace as an old woman. So when Columbo was wearing that, I would see...
What the fuck? I don't know what you're talking about.
Hey, it's some insight. It's a podcast.
Okay, all right, okay.
But anyways, he's on the couch. He's wearing a dead man's glasses. He's in the same... He's laying where a dead man was, so just literally 24 hours. Not even 24 hours. Let's say, 8 hours?
Yeah, it's brilliant.
It's gross.
But he makes her act out the murder.
Yeah.
Literally.
I think he knows at that time. He knows she's the murderer.
I agree, kind of. I think it's because she's the most obvious suspect. Because she was the only person, aside from the security guard, who knew Mark and didn't really have an alibi for that time.
So I like the interaction with Columbo and Walter. Yowza. And...
wowza.
Whatever. So I like the interaction because Columbo seems to be really connecting with him, and
well, he's a blue collar guy. Yeah, that's why.
Yeah.
But you realize that when she tells Walter, how to work the projection, and he does this step and fetch it thing, that's extremely racist.
Yeah, it is.
And I don't think he says wowza. I think that he says yazza, Miss Freestone.
Yazza. Okay. Well,
yazza.
Whatever.
Like yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And he's playing with it, and she's laughing. Whatever. But but with Columbo, Columbo's having a talk with Walter, and he's talking about his mother, like, oh well, you can't do this or you'd go blind. Wearing galoshes in the house would strike you blind on the spot.
No, he has that conversation with Kay.
No, that's with Walter.
No, it's with Kay.
It's with Walter.
No, it's with Kay. Because he's talking about the glasses, and that's a clue, so he's...
No. Disagree, sir. It's in my notes. But anyways, the point being is, if wearing galoshes in the house would strike you blind, what would porn do to you?
Wow. It would probably... I don't know. Well, he says wear rubbers in the house, though.
This isn't the joke, like, if you do it too often, you go blind.
Okay.
I can only imagine if galoshes make you blind. Maybe that was a subtle reference to something else.
Oh, Jesus.
Galoshes.
So we went from women's lib to this. This is where it's been, Steve. This is where it's going. Really.
I made a very big point in my notes to bring that up.
And now you're crossing it out.
Yeah. So, both Mark and Kate had Emmys in their office.
Yes! I'm willing to bet you that those are the Emmys that the show won.
I think so, too. I was thinking that. Yeah. So, at this point, the show did win Emmys?
Yeah. I think Peter Falk won...
I know he won Emmys, but I didn't know if it would have been...
I don't know if the show itself won Emmys, but I know that Peter Falk won like 3 of them. Like 3 years in a row. And I may be wrong on that, but I think those may have been his Emmys. So
there's in every Columbo, there's always random shit that kind of, I don't know if it's played for humor. I think it's played for humor. In the one that I wrote down that drew my attention was when Kay is taking Columbo on a kind of a tour of what her daily duties are, and she's got to fix things, put out fires, as she puts it. Columbo runs into this guy, and he's a dancer, and he's stretching. He's got his leg up in the air. Really random, kind of weird. So he's stretching his thighs out, and he tells Columbo to be quiet, or he shushes him.
Yeah, shh.
Why?
Well, that was Charles Nelson Riley. No, it wasn't Charles Nelson Riley.
Was that someone important?
I don't know. Charles Nelson Riley was a gay comedian that was on the Match Game.
Oh, I think this guy was gay. No?
There go a few more listeners, ladies and gentlemen.
All 2 of you.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely got that impression as well. Now, okay, the point in the story that you're talking about, there is a scene that is probably, I'm gonna say, I've hailed this episode so far. I mean, I said that the murder was the most perfectly filmed murder ever on Columbo, and I stand by that. However, there are about a minute and a half that a minute and 30 seconds of probably the worst time-wasting seconds in Columbo history.
Okay.
And that is the scene where he's allowed to sit down at the in the TV station.
God. Okay.
With George C. Scott, who goes uncredited in this episode.
Oh, really?
In fact, he's married to Trish Van Devere, who plays the murderer here. She plays Kay. She's married to him. He's fiddling around with buttons, and they play this stupid ass music while he basically watches a fucking screensaver, and it is terrible. It is.
Yeah. So
we were sitting here watching it together, and it was coming up, and I'm like, well, I'm gonna go up and get a drink now because I know what's coming.
Sean went out. He went to the bathroom. He got a refill on his drink. He checked the mail. Ran to the grocery store, bought lunch, came back. The thing was still playing.
It goes on forever, and you know what? I saw this when it was on TV, and they would edit it down. The 2 hour episodes, which actually are technically an hour and a half, they would edit them down so that to fit time. And when I got this on DVD, I didn't realize they had edited that out quite justifiably.
Oh, good. Yeah.
And so when I got it on DVD, I was like, the fuck is this? It's horrible. So it does not belong it's gone. So that shit belongs on Mrs. Columbo.
So I took my phone out and I recorded the length of time. Sean doesn't know what that time is. I would like you to take a guess. How long do you think that sequence took?
I'm going to say 1 minute 32 seconds.
All right, that's pretty close. It was almost 2 minutes.
Okay,
1 minute, 1 minute and 50 seconds.
Okay, well, I felt like I was in labor the entire time.
Yeah, me too. I went to the bathroom as well. Came back.
Mm-hmm. It was horrible.
There was nobody in the room, ladies and gentlemen, and the thing was still going. And so, if we missed any key clues or anything, I don't think we did.
No, we didn't. No. Stupid.
So a minute, 50, literally 2 minutes of that shit. That was stupid.
Yeah. Oh my god, that was. But really, let's put that behind us and let's talk about Valerie.
Okay. So Valerie is
she's a TV host for some reason. They're trying to film a live show with her.
Right.
She can't do it because she's always fucked up on booze or drugs or whatever. Could you imagine being fucked up on booze? I never. And she can't get her shit together to perform. I'm assuming that she's probably a very talented, funny lady. And Kay ends up.
Kay has a casting couch as well.
Oh yeah. Okay. So we need to talk about this. All right. Yeah. I know what you're thinking. What are you thinking? Tell me.
I'm thinking. Well, lesbians, obviously.
You really think so?
Oh yeah. Oh no, they were kissing.
I know. Okay, that's what I.
There's definitely a lesbian thing going.
Well, she. I mean, when she first walks in on Valerie, she comes up behind her, wraps her arms around her, and says.
And Valerie's in her bosom.
Yeah, and she says, "You can keep the key to my apartment." Now, I don't know if the people that wrote this realized that was very homoerotic, for lack of a better word. But I have a theory. I have a theory.
Yep.
My original theory was that they were having a homosexual relationship, but after a while, after I did some research, I realized that I think that Kay is Valerie's sponsor in AA.
Huh. Okay, I could see that as this is an NBC Universal. Well, before NBC and Universal were partnered, but MCA, NBC. Yeah, that would make sense, but definitely, I think looking at it today with current eyes, I definitely got a relationship more than professional going on.
Yeah, I do get that as well. I'm gonna, it's, but gosh. She hides drugs in Kay's house.
She's Valerie's very destructive. The director, everybody else is telling Kay this isn't working. We've got to figure something else out. And this actually comes to play later in the episode because Kay supports her and she's able to kind of fix the situation.
Well, she fixes the situation by instead of when Valerie's fucked up, she comes in and she decides that, or Kate comes in and decides that instead of having Valerie show on, they're going to air The Professional, which ends up being her downfall. And you totally called it while we were sitting here watching. You said Valerie is going to be her downfall.
Yeah,
and indirectly she was.
Yeah, I think so.
So
yeah, I think that led a bunch of clues. Because you love clues, left a bunch of clues for Columbo to kind of figure out that Kay was the murderer. But there's a scene, and it seems like an unusual scene, where Kay wants to go back to the home she grew up in, an abandoned house. I didn't quite understand, after viewing the entire episode, I thought it might lead to something else, but it didn't make much sense to me now. Why we had to see that. It was basically a relationship building scene where Columbo and Kay are kind of complimenting each other.
They have a very nice conversation.
Yeah, it's very nice. They both compliment each other on their skills.
Well, she says that my mother raised 3 of us, 4 people in this little tiny house.
And I needed to grow outside of that.
Yeah, and obviously she's worked very hard to be where she was. I mean, she's won 2 Emmys. And we don't know how many Emmys Mark McWilliams has won, but she's a fucking executive assistant and she won Emmys.
Yeah.
Obviously she needs a promotion.
But Columbo's attitude, he grew up in a similar situation, which is what they were connecting on. And he said, you know what, we were never alone.
Mm-hmm.
And she even makes comment of that. Like, you seem to accept your lot in life and make the best of it. That's in so many words. But what she did, she used that as fuel to get herself out of that situation. Very interesting.
Yeah.
But she gave him a nice neck rub. Apparently, Kay is the expert at back rubs, which, we didn't discuss it really. So I know we said that Columbo was in a neck brace. So he's got back problems or neck problems because of the very early car accident he has. There's this guy who's
Mr. Clean.
Mr. Clean, yeah, a bear. Would he be a bear? I'm not sure.
Yeah, that would be a bear. Yeah, very good.
So
very good, Padua.
Thank you. So I think Sam did worse damage to Columbo because now he has to wear a neck brace.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the scene that involved is so funny because you get the impression that Columbo's thinking, I'm about to have my neck snapped.
Yeah.
By this guy.
Not unlike Diane Hunter. Last episode.
But yeah, no. So Kay is now massaging his back, and I want to submit to you, sir, Sean. I want to submit to you. This is another example that Mrs. Columbo doesn't exist. Because if Mrs. Columbo had ever massaged her husband, which husband and wives do, I'm married, my wife gives me back massages all the time, he's never experienced physical touch with a woman.
No.
So this is the first time he's experienced that.
Jesus Christ.
So there is no Mrs. Columbo beat that.
Okay, so I'm going to say to you, sir, that Mrs. Columbo may give him massages, but like myself and my partner, perhaps she doesn't give good massages. Not everybody gives good massages. She obviously does. She does it early on in the episode. In the very beginning, she gives some technician a massage in the studio.
Perhaps, did he look terrified? Did he look terrified?
He looked very uncomfortable. That he looked like he was about to go to his lawyer and file a sexual harassment suit. But it's so fast. The scene in the old abandoned house is so fascinating because we find out that Kay and Columbo both came from not the same roots exactly, but the same sort of situation.
Meager.
Yeah. And it's interesting that I think intellectually they're equals. Professionally, they are not. Because he is just a lieutenant as opposed to maybe a superintendent or whatever. Actually, no. If she's just an executive assistant, I think that she feels that she's...
I bet she makes quite a bit more than he does.
That was the moment when I realized that, oh my God, they're actually talking to each other as equals. That they're not talking, that this is not Columbo talking to a murderer. This is Columbo actually empathizing with his target. And I really enjoyed that scene. And previously, I thought it was a big, huge bit of bullshit fluff. But this is why it's one of the reasons why I love this episode, spoilers, is it's so rich. The dialogue between them is so rich. It's great.
So we discussed earlier about maybe the lesbian subplot, which you don't think is a lesbian subplot.
I think they're AA.
I think that's more than likely what the writers were trying to do here, because she did have trouble with booze, and I mean, in the 70s we try to place our ideas and our concepts in these old episodes. To me, it looks like lesbian couple.
It does look like lesbian. Yeah, it does.
But I think what you say about the Alcoholics Anonymous, that's more than likely what they were trying to...
Because it looks like Kay was called in every single time Valerie had
she's got a problem with pills and booze. There's another kind of subtext. I feel weird that it was never rectified, but it was brought up multiple times, was the violence on TV aspect. They bring that up constantly. Like, TV's getting too violent.
That's Walter.
Yeah, Walter talks about it. There's another scene which I didn't record earlier in my notes, but there's definitely... It gets brought up multiple times how there's too much violence on TV.
I think that's interesting, and I think that's probably a valid point by Walter. I don't know if that's the show commenting on the fact that it's violent, or maybe people thought it was violent, because they also mention, early on, Kate tries to blame the murder on fanatics, atheism.
Yeah, all the isms.
Yeah. And, but, television is sort of a scapegoat, or it was at one time. Nowadays, television is such a broad spectrum of, like, Netflix and network television and I don't think that's an argument anymore, because right now, we have shows like The Walking Dead or Breaking Bad, and those shows.
Orange is the New Black.
Orange is the New Black,
which Kay will be.
Yeah. She will be in jail with Kate Mulgrew then.
Oh, Mrs. Columbo.
Yeah, Mrs. Columbo's in there.
So. The actress who plays Kay, who was her name?
Trish Van Devere.
Van Devere.
Who I've never seen in anything else, bless her heart.
I thought she was a dead spot on for Kate McGrew.
Yeah,
I could see Kate McGrew playing this part.
I agree.
And
she was. I think Kate Mulgrew is a little bit prettier, but that's not really fair to say.
I've got a theory about Kate McGrew's Mrs. Columbo. We'll discuss that later.
Oh God, you and your Mrs. Columbo shit. I'm really tired of your red zone shit, Steve. Anyway. Well, I think you're right, especially Kate Mulgrew as Captain. What's her name in Star Trek?
Captain Janeway.
Captain Janeway. Yeah, she reminds me very much of this character. But I've seen 2 episodes of that, so it's not really.
The scene where I think it hurts Kay is when we find out Valerie is not on set. The show's going live in 3 hours. It's a live program. And so Kay's got to find Valerie, and she's at her house because she's got the key to Kay's home. And so Kay runs to the house, try to get her back so she can be on this live performance that's really important. And she's drunk, high, both. I'm not real sure what's going on with her. Her lipstick smeared on her face. She's a mess.
She falls down the spiral staircase.
But yeah, my point to that falling down the spiral staircase was: did she fall off the wagon? Was that an analogy?
I think
she fell down. She fell off the wagon.
I don't know. I think if they were going to do that, they would actually have a wagon.
There would be a wagon.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's a funny scene that comes up after that, where Columbo has to pick up his TV.
Oh yes! Oh, we have to talk about that.
Total fluff. This is not the same fluff as the 2-minute long.
No, it's a different
This
fluff.
is fun fluff.
This is good fluff. Yeah, you're right.
This is fluff where we learn more about Columbo, and we get to see more Peter Falk doing his thing, which is enjoyable. This is why we watch this.
With Bruno Kirby,
yes,
who apparently quit his job as a sergeant and picked up repairing TVs.
Yes, and I got a point about this. So, listeners don't know this. I don't know if you know this about me, Sean. I collect pinballs and arcade games. Not the arcade games that you would go to a literal store and put a quarter in. Those kind of arcade games. And I've repaired those, and I enjoy that. When working on an arcade game, and you've got the monitor on, if you don't decoil those suckers before you start working on the monitor, you will literally give yourself a heart attack. You will die on the spot. It's very dangerous. Okay. So you've got to be very careful. So you cannot be working on a TV while it's on. Okay. I had a real problem with that this repairman was working on a TV while Columbo and Dog were watching.
Really? Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah, so if you were to take an old CRT TV, crack it open, have it playing, if you were to start picking and poking while that thing was on, you would electrocute yourself to death. Huh. Because that thing has such a high charge. So I found that very hard that Columbo and Dog were watching while he's making those repairs. Sorry, I know that's stupid.
No, it's not stupid. No, it's one of these things.
Yeah.
It's one of these things. But it was still a good scene. I mean, we found out that Dog likes to watch TV.
How does he know when he doesn't like the show? Because he looks bored.
He looks bored. And I love that Bruno Kirby's like, does he like it? I can't remember what Columbo says in response to that, but yeah. It's a really
Mrs. Columbo doesn't watch TV. Now I'm pretty sure in another episode the Phantom Mrs. Columbo does watch TV a lot. I'm pretty sure that gets brought up somewhere. I've heard that. The inconsistencies with Mrs. Columbo.
Well, she goes to night classes, Steve. That's why she doesn't watch TV.
She goes to strip clubs.
No, she goes to night classes.
She doesn't even exist.
No, she exists. Mrs. Columbo fucking exists, and I'm going to prove it to you someday. Maybe even in the next episode, I'll prove it to you. But all right, so there is another aspect of the story that, like, I'm going to go back to how I basically want to have a common law marriage with Kay Freestone. I think she's fucking fantastic. Is that there are 3 moments in this film, because when you come down to it, it is a film. There are 3 moments that she loses it.
All right, what's the first 2? I know the third one.
Okay, so the first one is when she's committing the murder. She shoots Mark, and she's on her way back to the projection booth. And the security guard looks at a Playboy magazine. Actually, it's a Playpen magazine, I think.
No, that was a Bachelor's World magazine.
And you notice that she, most of the time, she just walks through that scenario, walks up the stairs like she's doing a very precise job, and then near the end she starts running. And then she runs into the security guard, and she has to watch as he looks at this fucking magazine, and then she has to run to the projection booth for the time that's left. The second time that she loses it is when she realizes that there's a gun, the gun that she put on above the elevator, and don't get me started with this, is that she sees the gun, and she still has that antenna in her purse, and she gets the gun.
She keep an antenna in her purse. That's so...
Well, when you think about
I know why she has it there, but
when you think about it, she never thought to throw it away. When you think about it, it's a really handy tool to have. I mean,
it is.
But
I got a problem with
this. Well, she freaks out because she's trying to get the gun out, and it's a very long scene, basically. And near the end, when she's just about to get the gun out, she starts almost crying. And it's so cool because she freaks out, and the next scene she gets out of the elevator, and she tells the security guard, "Good night." Like, she's calm, she's composed. She will never let anybody see her like that. And of course, the third time is when near the end, at the end, when Columbo shows up on the set, and she's freaking out because she just lost her job and all that.
Wait, she lost her job? I thought she got the promotion.
No, she lost her job.
I thought the guy said, "I'm making it permanent."
No. Patrick O'Neill?
Yeah.
Do you remember when we did Murder, Smoke, and Shadows, and Alex Brady has this conversation with the producer in the limo? It was the same thing. I
could have swore he said, I thought we were going to make it official, you're
No. He said, you had no right to show the professional in place of Valerie. And she said, I didn't know that you... I thought you'd like it.
That makes so much more sense.
He said, no, you have no right to guess what I like.
Well, one of the things that Mark says
he also says, I also question your taste in moving behind a dead man's desk.
Yeah.
And she said something like, I don't remember exactly what he said, but he said, I want you out by the end of the week or something like that. She said, do you expect hysterics? And he said, no, I don't think so. Basically, he said, you're too classy a woman for that. That's not what he says, but he says something to that Ken, and she leaves. And she's falling apart at this point.
Gotcha. That makes more sense. I was under the assumption that she had gotten the permanent position.
No. He fired her. She was going to be gone in a week. She had worked so hard up to that point. I mean, she killed a fucking guy to get the job.
Yeah, because we found out earlier that Mark says because Mark is being transferred to the New York or the East Coast to take over New York and whatever that territory. And so when she finds out about that, she asks Mark, wearing, the only two things she's wearing is his shirt and panties. She says, "So I get the West the West Coast." He says, "No, because you do guessing, but you don't do." What does he say?
You don't make decisions. You make guesses.
Right.
So, despite the fact that she worked so hard, apparently she still sucked at her job.
Yeah.
And later on, when Patrick O'Neill talks to her, that's kind of confirmed that she made a very poor decision, and she did. Why would you take a movie that was just filmed or finished in production and put it on TV in replace of the Valerie show? Take another movie. Take an older movie that you've already
something
shown.
that wasn't a first
It
one.
was a poor decision.
Yeah, so they basically, all the money they spent on that film was wasted.
Yeah.
Because the first run was on TV for free.
And I don't know how to feel about that because I don't think it was a good decision, but she made it anyway. But, I mean, up to that point, professionally, I totally respected her. I thought she was pretty cool. I thought she had her shit together.
Yeah.
But that was a bad decision. And that's why she fucking just falls apart before Columbo nails her.
They make it sound like these guys do, they're perfect, they make these decisions. I'll be honest, in entertainment, people screw up all the time. And so, in a way, I feel really sorry for her. She's kind of bucking the trend. She's trying to, as a woman, she's trying to work up the old men's, or the what's the word I'm looking for? The old men's club, and
the boys club, good old boys club.
Good old boys club. And so that's hard. I mean, she's fighting. She's a fighter, and she even says that she's someone who will book the trend. Yeah, she says that at the end. And I do wonder that if Mark was still alive and he made that decision to air The Professional, whether or not he would get
reprimanded for it.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah. I think it's fascinating. And I love this episode because of her. And I love the interaction between her and Columbo. And I love the way the murder was executed. However, if I had one complaint about this, and I want to know your opinion on it, is the lack of clues. There are not a lot of clues in here at all.
Well, I think Columbo distinguishes that Kay is the murderer right off the bat.
Right.
So yeah, there's not much clues. So it's kind of hard to see how Columbo was able to distinguish she was the murderer.
Well, no, he did it at least after after he talks to Walter. He finds out that she ordered tapes that weren't needed.
Mm.
She at the time of the murder, she ordered Walter to go downstairs, bring up tapes from the Broadland that were useless. And then he asks her later on, "Why did you do that?" You know. Mm-hmm. So I think that was when he knew.
So the weird thing, and for someone of Kay's intelligence, she's very attention to detail. You get that. She does production. She does all sorts of things beyond her job duties. She's on top of things. So she's got to be very particular. The fact that she left the murder weapon in the elevator this whole time bothered me.
Yeah, me too.
I feel like she would have taken care of that a lot earlier. But not the case, because they do find, I guess, somebody finds the gun in the elevator, and they plant a duplicate for her to find. And at that point, that's how they know. She removes the duplicate towards the end and disposes of it.
Yeah, it's the killer clue.
Yeah, and
I totally agree with you. I think that she probably would have been better off hiding the gun elsewhere.
Oh, yeah.
And then getting rid of it later, throwing it in the sewer.
She could have. She didn't have to destroy that wonderful radio antenna to place it in the elevator. She could have taken it with her that evening and disposed of it that evening. There would be no searching. I don't know why she placed it in the elevator, but
I agree. It's kind of like I don't remember the guy's name, but in the Bye Bye Sky High IQ murder case, Oliver Brandt. That was his name. I don't know how I remember that. Wow. He tells Columbo, "No, this is how it was done," and he does that. But you pointed out to me that he was already frazzled so much that he was more likely to do that.
Well, his wife was spending his money.
Yeah.
Bitch.
Yeah.
So we get to the final scene. And how do we know it's the final scene, sir? Because he brings a paper bag to so Kay is recording a carousel scene, and she's in the edit room, and Columbo sees her, and he's got his paper bag with him. Not a good sign. Not a good sign for Kay.
Yeah, I agree. And we laughed. We enjoyed a laugh. We shared a laugh when that came up. And then she's... Yeah. That's when he shows it to her.
Shows what to her? His dick. Sorry.
And we're at this now, ladies and gentlemen. No, he shows the tape to her of when he placed the gun.
Edit that out.
He shows the tape to her when he placed the decoy gun, and then afterwards when she took it out.
So, do you feel sorry for the murderer?
Oh God, yes.
When did Columbo know? Let me ask you this: when did Columbo know? I think it's early. But
I think it was early. It was early. I think. Well, when do you think that he knew?
The scene where he first calls her into Mark's office. He's wearing his glasses. Literally, the first scene Columbo on the scene. Sorry, that sounds repetitive. And he tells her, "Come back in, but with your arm outreached like you're holding a gun."
Mm-hmm. That was very awkward for her, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think he knew at that point.
I think
she was a prime suspect.
I think that he suspected her, but he didn't know it was her until he found out about the tapes that she asked Walter to go get and bring back up to the projection.
Yeah, I gotta say though, something that bothered me. So Walter is apparently an anal kind of guy. Now we all know. when I go to work, my pins are in a certain place.
Oh, I know what you're going to say.
My paper pad is another certain place.
Yeah.
Then there's the person who works next to me, fucking like trash on the floor. Mm-hmm. There's two type of people. There's people who are very cluttery. Yep. And there's people who keep things in order. So Walter, we established for those listening, is the real guy. The guy who's in the booth. What's the word I'm looking for?
Projectionist.
Projectionist. Yes. We established about midway through that he is very clean and orderly. He's got everything in the right spot. But he's been leaving this glove that's been laying on the floor, which for me would have drove me crazy. I would have thrown that away,
Columbo sees it right away. Did Miss Freestone make the splice too? Yeah.
So, I don't know if he said it like that. But that bothered me. But it was a clue, and we love clues. So should we review it?
I just want to say one more thing. Another scene.
Just one more thing.
Just one more. I didn't even think about that. But yeah, right. Speaking of the projectionist, when he shows Columbo how to do the turnover from one reel to another, and Columbo fucks it up.
There's no nickel.
No, because there's no nickel. I always make a thermos before I come to work. Anyway, so there's no nickel, but he fucks it up, and the guy that's watching the movie yells at him, "Walter, what the hell's going on?
What the fuck are you doing? You're fired, Walter!" And Chloe's like, "I gotta go."
Yeah.
Okay. Don't go in that room.
That was very funny.
Poor Walter.
Yeah.
I like Walter, by the way. I thought
like Walter
he was a very fun character.
Yeah, he was, and he wound up better than most of. He was my favorite projectionist in all of Columbo, because the other two that I can think of, well, one guy died. The other guy, well, he's just old. Eventually died, but So
wowza. Okay.
Yeah.
So
So I went first last time. You go first this time. Rated out of how many?
I think we did a 1 out of 10. So we're going to do a weird number this time.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to base this off the car model that Mark bought for K. So what would you rate this out of 450 SL or 450?
Oh gosh, I really like this. No, you went. No, I went first last time. You go first this time.
Okay. So out of 450, this was a good one. I'll give it a solid 390. I enjoyed it. I thought there were a lot of good scenes. I thought Kay was a good foil against Columbo. They were on the same level. They had a lot of similar backgrounds, which is established in about 3/4 of the way in. With my experience with the industry, that I could kind of see how this could easily happen with women trying to fight their way to the top. Mm-hmm. Because that was definitely an issue when I came in the early 90s. And now it's kind of the opposite. It's like the pendulum swings both ways. And now it's the other way around. But I liked it. I thought it was very good. I can't really say much more. I just enjoyed it.
Well, I'm going to agree. I pretty much agree with you. I'm going to give it a 401. I think this is a pretty damn fucking good episode. It was heavily padded. Oh
God, you're right. I forgot about the padding.
The only moment when you realize that it's padded, though, is in that minute and a half when he's playing around with the controls. The 2 minutes that he's playing around with the controls. But other than that, the padding is good. Unlike when we watch something like, say, Etude in Black. I thought she was superb. I loved her. If she goes to trial, as she even says, I may even win. I hope she gets off. She won't get off, I think, because I think that's...
but her career is ruined.
Yeah, her career is ruined, and that's really all that matters to her.
She's dead.
Yeah, she's gone. Oh, she's dead inside. That's absolutely true.
Because there's no way. Yeah, the guy who fired her, there's no way.
And
she's done.
Somebody said this on another Columbo podcast, but this episode was very cinematic. It looks like a real movie from 1970 or 77 or something. Yeah, I can't remember what. But when you compare it to something like The Greenhouse Jungle, which some people enjoy, I thought it's first class. It's really good television. It ticks off, for me, all the boxes that a Columbo episode should have. You've got the dog, the car, the Columbo and the wife. You've got the murderer. She never gets mad at him. Well, she does get mad at him, but it's all beneath the surface. It was really good. The only thing I think where it suffered was the obviously 2 minutes of bullshit that we saw with the TV screens. And what are you gonna do with that? I don't know, but it's infamous for that. And also, there weren't a lot of clues.
Well, the one clue that came to mind was when Columbo goes to Mark's home and he gets a dry cleaning delivery for a woman's jacket.
Yeah, but there's also a red herring in that scene because he also finds a sliver of glass where Mark broke his Bloody Mary glass to show Kay the keys. How he can leap to the conclusion that Kay killed Mark because of a sliver of glass on the
I wrote in my notes, I forgot to bring it up. So there's a scene where, so Mark is, I guess, trying to make it up to Kay.
Yeah.
That he's moving on to the New York, he's moving to the East Coast to take that over, and he's not giving the West Coast to her. And so he's going to pay her off with a car. And
could you fucking imagine that somebody did that to you?
I wish my boss would do that to me.
Well, no, but let's say are you sleeping with your boss though?
No.
I mean, like, I'm not going to give you the job that I'm leaving.
Yeah,
but you can have a car. I mean, I wouldn't. Fuck
and
you.
A brand new car behind door number 1.
Yeah, fuck you. I'm not taking your fucking car. I never want to see you again.
She even sees it later in the episode. She sees it, and the security guard's like, "Oh, ma'am, that's your car there." And she's like, "No, I don't." I don't want that.
Okay.
But the scene where Mark, before he gets murdered, he has 2 glasses of Bloody Mary. Right? That's what. Mm-hmm. Okay, kind of look a little light. And so he pours the alcohol out of one drink into the other and takes the keys out. Like, he's not wasting the booze. I just thought that was funny.
He noticed this, ladies and gentlemen.
Booze are not wasted.
But he is a little bit dramatic. I mean, he throws the glass on the table and breaks
it.
Here's the keys.
Mark's an asshole. Don't get me wrong. I really do feel sorry for Kay.
Yeah,
Mark is a douche.
He was.
He's the David Letterman who fooled around on his wife with one of his staff. Where are we going?
You are absolutely right. Yeah, Mark is not a person that exudes douchiness, but nevertheless, his actions are pretty. He was a fucking asshole to her. Yeah. And if I were her, I would kill him too. So
I think the takeaway is we both really like this episode.
I love this. This is probably among my top 5.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, I think maybe it might be like number 4 or something like that. But because it's not heavy in the clues, but it's great in its execution. I like her. I like the way the murder was performed. It's really, really good, solid TV. Okay. And I was mildly surprised when it came up when you spun the swinging wheel of the 70s.
All right, so we're going to do it? We're going to do the wig and wheel for next episode now?
Yeah.
Oh, God, we got to do a 90s. Oh, dear God, help us all.
All right, so Steve, swing that wheel.
Like I'm in Vegas.
Swing the wheel. Okay. We are going to watch Butterfly and Shades of Grey.
Wait, Shades of Grey?
Starring William Shatner.
Oh, damn, I thought that was the movie that...
So, lucky you.
The bondage and the fetishes and the... Not Shades of Grey, the movie.
No, Butterfly and Shades of Grey. You're thinking of 50 Shades of Grey.
Yes, I am.
Jesus wept. I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen. He just sometimes...
Well, the last episode we had sex. I was kind of hoping we'd go back to... The 90s are very sexual.
Okay, you're talking about... Okay, yeah. I was just saying, no, I didn't, Steve. But, all right, so Butterfly and Shades of Grey, and Columbo fans, I hope you enjoyed this episode. I certainly did. I know for sure that Steve did, judging from his composure. And good night, everybody! Say goodnight, Steve.
Good morning, everybody.